those of you who are new, who are not members yet, how many people here are members of ESS?
Right.
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, we got several of our members are here, and they'll probably be drifting in as time goes on here. So I just thought I'd explain to people who are not members yet what we were about. Here's one.
I do.
Okay. Experimental Spacecraft Society is a nonprofit club, and it was founded at the Midwest Space Development Conference in October of 1990. And ESS is dedicated to building real spacecraft and rockets. About half our members are rocket enthusiasts, amateur rocket enthusiasts, and the rest of them are interested in the payload end. ESS exists to foster a just-do attitude. In other words, let's stop sitting around and expecting. Let's stop writing politicians about space and actually start doing something about it ourselves. Many of us have kind of been brainwashed into believing that individuals can't make any difference in the space problem and getting into space. But in fact, I think the individual effort is the key to getting there. I don't think it's all that difficult. You know, we often get bogged down in the problem of, well, it's expensive, it's technically difficult, et cetera, but really, I think if we put individual effort, if we make an individual commitment to start building things and doing things ourselves, we will make progress. I mean, our technological history is absolutely filled with examples of individual effort making a huge difference. Innovators like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford come to mind. And these guys essentially caused revolutions all by themselves. This was pretty amazing.
White brothers who have different funding. White brothers who were top government.
Yeah, Wright brothers. Yeah, it was a bicycle shop, right?
Steve Jobs and Marshall had more recent example.
But
the thing is that one wealthy individual is not going to survive that side of the space station.
yeah,
It's not going to about $5,000 pounds.
right. So anyway,
I heard the talk.
I have a saying that if you think you can do something or you think you can't do something, this is not my saying, this is a borrowed quote, you're probably correct either way. If you think you can do it, you probably can. But so anyway, what ESS is about is we want to start building hardware of some type, okay? And the idea here is we can't go out like build a space station immediately or go mine the moon immediately. But what we can do is we can start learning about how to do things in space. We start off with some small stuff and work our way up. Now, actually, there are other organizations who have already done this to some level, and one of them is the amateur radio people, IMSAT, probably the most famous ones. I've been trying to convince my friends at the International Space University to start a satellite building program, and they all kind of shy away from it because they think it's so difficult. But the IMSAT people built small satellites in the 60s, and they work, and they've been building them. They've got, I don't know, 2-3 dozen of their Oscar satellites up that they've flown, and a lot of them have worked just fine. They've piggyback launches, a lot of them on Ariane, for example, to get them up there. Now, there's some other organizations that are doing some things too. SEDS is starting a satellite project, and they've made quite a bit of progress on that. Space Studies Institute has a mini prospector going, which they've gotten a launch from a launch agreement with the Soviet Union now, and they're waiting for some major funding to build the spacecraft. What I think ASS can do, though, is, well, ASS has a project starting now, too. What we're working on right now is we decided, well, let's start with something that looks really doable on day one. And what looks really doable is a suborbital launch with a small payload of about 10 or 20 pounds. So no sooner had I talked to our launch working group head about this, and we kind of agreed between ourselves that suborbital launch would be the way to go to get started, when some guys from the Pacific Rocket Society called me up and said, well, we're looking for somebody to build a payload for our rocket that we're going to test out in August to fly to 25 miles. I said, oh, well, gee, that's interesting because we're looking for a rocket with a payload on it. So we now have this project started with them, and what it's going to be is the payload is going to be a small camera and possibly an air sampling experiment for sampling air at high altitude, which is a very interesting thing for environmental monitoring. And the Pacific Rocket Society, one of the guys there, wants to pursue that as a money-making project later. They will fly a rocket to high altitude over various parts of the country and sample the air and get the EPA to pay them to do it or something. So that's kind of a long-term interest of theirs. But anyway, they're planning on launching their rocket, which is a liquid-fueled rocket, rather complex for a group. But the guy that's designing it, his father has worked at rocket hunting for like 40 years, so he's getting some extra help.
All these guys have built these before. It's not their first look at it.
That's right. That's right. They built. How many did I know of two? Two liquid ones.
Well, they built one liquid one. Another member of their group built another liquid one, and then the Australian guys, they upgraded their design to a bigger one. And now the Australians are going to build a 2,000-pounder next year, or they're building it right now.
Yeah. That's right. There's some other activity going on amongst our members. Rick Wills here is also involved in rocket engine building. And some Australians that are also part of our group are building OSROC, you might have heard that. They're doing a very ambitious project. They're talking about a program to get to an orbital vehicle relatively quickly. And we have Matt Travis, who's building solid rockets. These are both Rick and Matt are for commercial, and I believe the Australians.
They don't know yet. They like to go into commercial. The problem is that they also will government funding themselves. $100,000 Australians.
Good.
It's called OSROC.
Yeah, OSROC. In fact, if you want to call Robert Blair, we called him about a month ago. For $30, you talk to him for about 20 minutes. I think that's not a real expensive call to Australia. You got to call him in the evening. He's there in the morning.
Gaze, what's going on? I missed most of the Hummingbird rocket session where they talked about their experiments. I mean, you guys know
Did anybody go to the Hummingbird?
progress?
What did they say?
Progress of anyone?
Well, they're quite enthusiastic. Aerospike engine design. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I heard their presentation at Denver 3 years ago.
They gave a little more detail this time. I still didn't know what an aerospike was. This time you got some enough detail to see what the thing is. Methyl hydroxyammonium nitrate was one of the fuel suggestions. Stuff that, well, something like Koopman's, I guess, that the fuel won't explode on its own. In fact, if you let it cool down too much, it will solidify in place.
Do they have any hardware for that? They go testing the engine?
I don't know about hardware. I got the impression they probably don't have much.
I have the card. I have the card from the guys. Did you want to copy their?
They said they're trying to get funding. And once again, like there's people interested in finding them to build maybe like a 12-foot tall one for taking experiments up suborbital.
Well, one of the probably hottest activities in ESS right now is our launch working group. Dean Over is heading that up, and he's also working on some launch vehicles. He has a company that builds payloads right now in New York, and he has some suggestions and ideas for developing our own launch vehicle, especially for ESS payloads. And this is really different from commercial stuff because commercial guys usually want a fairly large payload. They usually want to launch a half ton or something to low Earth orbit, whereas we're talking about maybe 10 or 20 pounds. So you really can't find commercial rockets around that are geared toward putting 10 or 20 pound payload in orbit. Of course, you can piggyback on things, and that's the second line approach to getting into orbit. But Dean seems to think, well, he's working on some ideas for a balloon assist launch, which actually some students in North Carolina, I understand, are planning on doing this next year. I don't know if they're gonna go orbital or not, but they at least have flown balloons and are talking about balloon assisted launch, and then some amateur radio types have also done a lot of balloon work, not with rockets, but with the balloons themselves, flying them up to 100,000 feet. So there's a lot of precedent and background that we can build on there to possibly get into orbit that way by flying a balloon up to 100,000 feet with a rocket on it, firing off the rocket, and getting a small payload into orbit that way. So that's an approach that Dean is really interested in, and he's going to work on that. And you know, anybody who wants to join up, and that's a big area to work on. We need a lot of help on it. The other areas that are going hot and heavy right now is the recovery system for the suborbital launch for August. That involves some parachutes and figuring out where we can get cheap parachutes. We've made quite a bit of progress on that.
You guys can make them or farm?
Well, we can get surplus ones from the military. That's one approach that John McDonald has talked about.
You might consider making them, because the deaccelerator, of course, the only problem with making them, you do have to collect them. And the deaccelerators aren't that hard to make for the size you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. The Hummingbird talk, I did catch them saying that airbags are off-the-shelf items now. And one thought they had was putting an airbag in the bottom of the thing and a Polaroid camera sensor so that 10 feet above the ground, the airbag appeared.
That's real gutsy.
I think they also wanted to do the parachute, but I thought, well, hell, you had a big enough balloon on the bottom of the thing. So they crash into a 10-foot diameter balloon.
That's a good possibility, and especially. Another thing Dean brought up was a balloon, which is the opposite thing where you inflate a big thing up at the top and use air cannons as an aerial brake
Yeah.
coming down.
I wondered about parasails for recovery, so it would be possible to actually fly the things on the guide until landing point and just take pot lock before you come down.
Yeah, that's possible too.
You gotta remember, these guys are launching it. Talking about launching Black Rock, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to launch from Black Rock Desert in Nevada,
Yeah.
and they would like
Have some way to know where it's at.
they would like to recover it in a fairly small area. However, the John Champa, the VP of AMSAT, he's also one of our members, and he was telling me that for the amateur radio guys to go on a transmitter hunt over a 3-state area is not that difficult. He said they go on transmitter hunts in a metropolitan area for fun, and they'll plant a transmitter somewhere in a place in a metropolitan area like Chicago or St. Louis, and they'll find it in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. They can find that thing.
And what about CAP for search and recovery, or at least for search and discovery?
Yeah, well, they might be able to help on the actual picking it up, because obviously if it lands in the middle of the woods or somewhere, you're going to need to pull a bucket to get it.
Yeah, but as
that's
far
no
as
problem.
finding it.
Black Americans. But you know, problem is if you pop your parachute way up at the top of your trajectory, you probably, well, you can't pop it way quite at the top because you run air up there, but if you pop it as high as you can, and you probably be good for quite a long, probably out of the state.
Yeah, you know that the Hummingbird people, if they ever build the thing, they're planning on landing under power at their original launch site using triangulation, radio triangulation located in itself. So obviously that simplifies life a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So it looks to me like, contrary to popular belief, we actually have a lot of options and a lot of things to do. And we have launch possibilities. We have the one payload activity going on now, and there's lots of other ideas that people have had for payloads, all the way up to interplanetary payloads, small probes, asteroids and things. So there's plenty of stuff to do, and what we really need though is dedicated individuals who are willing to take on some work and see it through. In fact, I've been amazed. We have probably about 60 members now, and of those, about 6 of them are really, putting out the extra effort and keeping going on things like Andy Reynolds has a handout on his work on the camera, which I'll pass around to people that are interested. And he's essentially got a whole sort of preliminary design written up here for a small TV camera. It costs $324.95. An ATV transmitter, which is a TV transmitter with video and audio. And I think this thing has been flown on some balloons before.
I've also flown it on rockets before.
Was it on rocket too? Okay. and this is $169. It's pretty cheap. He's willing to donate the 2-meter transmitter, timer, and battery, and build stuff. He's an amateur radio guy. He has some of these things. And he writes up some stuff on pros and cons of this idea. He has some drawings, some circuit drawings already, everything. And he's really put in a lot of work to get some real designs going. We also have 3 guys working on an altimeter. They're probably going to buy an altimeter. You can buy them off the shelf. And one of my students at SUNY Binghamton is designing a air sampler device. So anyway, we need more workers. We have some stuff started, and the sky is not the limit. We can use more help on this payload, and we can use people working with the launch group. There's other ideas that people have had for payloads, and if there's a core of people that want to work on it, you can get started. There's even a group in California that wants to build an aerospace, what's what they call this, a single 2-person space plane. They're a little more wild and crazy, but
Who is that?
that's, I'm not sure who, which organization. I think it's the San Diego guys. San Diego 05 thing. I know several people there, several of their members are ESS members, but I don't have a good picture of where they're all from. They're all from Southern California somewhere.
Bill Farber.
Yeah, there's Bill Farber, Derek Lassen, Joe Bajo, and Charles Radley, who's, I think he's a little farther away from
He's
us.
Ventura, Bill, and Derek are Orange County Space Society.
Yeah. And Derek,
And Joe's San Diego.
Bill's the guy, he runs a machine shop and he has a company that makes helicopters. So he's volunteered to do a lot of the machining for us. For example, for our payload, we're talking about a 3-foot aluminum tube, 6 inches in diameter, and inside of there you got some mounting hardware for the camera, and parachute is stuffed in there. John McDonald, one of our members who's works on an Air Force base, he's counting a preliminary design for a recovery system, including right now he's talking about a drogue chute and a main chute, which still bugs me a little bit. It seems like it's kind of complicated to have too. But,
Where did you accelerate from?
yeah, the problem is that Pacific Rocket guys have told us it'll be under Mach 3. That's still pretty bad. So we think we need a drogue chute version.
Gay, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. When you mentioned the guy who was donating a television camera and transmitter?
No, he's talking, that's Andy Reynolds. He's here, he's sick though, he's packed up to his room. He said he would donate 2-meter transmitter. His design calls for the camera, a TV transmitter, and a 2-meter transmitter, which is a beacon, to find things.
But if he has a TV transmitter, then it's not absolutely necessary to recover it.
That's right.
I mean,
This
it
is-
was a successful experiment, even if it just crashes.
Right. And I put it, I put it to the working group, the camera guys. Look, guys, make a decision. We can either transmit the pictures back, recover it only, or do both. And I think they've gone for the do both approach. But one thing fails, and hopefully the other thing works. Well, the Pacific Rocket Society, they want to recover their rocket anyway, because their idea is to see if they can reuse it. Since
Well,
the
last time they
liquid's
fired it, they had to dig it out of a dry or a wet lake, cost them $300. So they don't want to make that same mistake.
maybe that's why they're going for the desert this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants the info from me? So now y'all got in your handouts, you all got a form to fill out if you want to become a member. And there's some information on there about what the ISDC is all about.
Is there another handout?
So, no, that's, it was in your introductory. It was, they reduced it down, it says like 4 things on there. Does anybody have that with them? That sheet that show what it is? So I know what to look for.
Oh, it was in the package for with registration?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, I've seen that, yeah.
it has one of the things on it is a flyer, it's a gravity gradient stabilized TV camera with a picture. So
I
semi-facetious.
walked in late, so maybe I missed something. Did you say there was a suborbital launch this August?
Yeah. This is in conjunction with the Pacific Rocket Society,
Oh.
West, and they're building a liquid fuel rocket. It's propane and nitrous oxide.
Oxide or?
Well, it said oxide in my mind. Maybe.
Probably nitric oxide. Not enough mass, but I think it's nitric acid. They used nitric acid last time.
Okay. So anyway, yes, they're in the process of building that. I have some drawings of it. It's a preliminary drawing. It's yeah, I brought some extras. But all I have is a one-page drawing. It's not very detailed yet. They're busily working on detailed drawings, but they do have some hardware already. They have an engine, and they have the tube for the main body of the rocket.
They have an engine?
Yeah. Everybody wants to look at this, we can pass it around if you would. Get some copies, that's someplace.
Are they gonna call this thing Harvey? High altitude research vehicle?
Yeah.
Guys in California have a flare for going over.
This is a little bit of information on them. Pass that around to the Pacific Rocket Society.
You know, it seems like more and more people are teaming up on these different groups all over the nation and finally getting together and building things.
Yeah. I think it's really important that we start building things. People talk just isn't doing it. Talk is not getting us in space. And reliance upon the government, unfortunately, is not getting us there either.
Yeah, just as a historical aside here, I don't know if anybody knows this, but back in the early 30s, that was being done. Of course, you're probably familiar with the American Interplanetary Society that started in New York. And the first president of that organization was David Lasser. They were launching some of the first liquid fuel rockets ever in Staten Island. And David Lasser is still alive, living in Southern California.
Oh,
He might be an interesting inspirational resource.
okay. That's a good idea. Yeah, like Rick says, I think it'll be to everyone's benefit if we can kind of team up and not take so much an adversarial attitude toward other organizations, but try to work with them and as much as we can.
David Lasser and his group were working with von Braun and the German Rocket Society,
Oh,
and they were working with the Soviet student groups.
ah, good.
So there's a precedent here.
Good, good. We have a potentially wide pool of people to work with. There's not only the rocket societies in the United States and various people starting small, starting building rocket engines, but and I mentioned before the AMSAT, the SEDS, there's an organization called VITA, but also the International Space University is getting a satellite program started, and now we'll be able to tap into people from around the world through that. So their students come from 30 different countries. Okay, I do have some copies of this if anybody would like. Anybody want a copy of the rocket picture? Okay.
You know, it helps, well, one thing I've discovered in doing this stuff is it helps if you find somebody who has a machine lathe or mill in their basement. And there are a lot of them around, believe it or not. Oh, yeah. Get to know people like that and get real friendly with them. They'll teach you a wealth of information. You can do amazing little things with a simple, like I put my rocket in an 80-year-old lady. So you can do this stuff fairly.
There's another option, is to do a cooperative project with a university or even a high school that has a good
high
machine
school, I
shop.
work with them.
Do a project with students, and you have tremendous resources in a good high school.
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, one of our members in Cleveland was talking to a high school shop teacher who was very enthusiastic about this idea.
And that's free, they love this
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. So, let's see. I guess what I'd like to do is, rather than having a formal meeting, we can break up into groups and people are interested in different things, and maybe I'll talk to you individually about what you're interested in and what you might be able to work on for some of our projects. I think I'd rather do that than have a formal meeting.
Do I need more copies of this? Or is this?
Well, I do have another copy, and I can make more copies if people want to keep them. We can keep that one around.
Thanks.
Where is that Pacific Launch Group based out of?
They're in.
Oxnard, California.
Well, they're actually all over the Southern California Valley. George lives in Oxnard, his brother Steve and his dad live down in the valley. In fact, it's interesting there. I was talking to some people there. California is a real hotbed of people building rockets. There are a bunch of guys that are building solids down there too.
Yeah, there's a group further north, a rocket research group in Central Northern California, Kurt Cohan and company.
The Rocket Ranch.
Yeah, the Rocket Ranch has.
Actually, the guy I started was actually in Washington.
Mm.
I gave him a call and see whether he was trying to come to a conference in Dayton in October. Oh, by the way, in October, that's a good thing to talk about. If any of you are going to come to the Midwest Space Development Conference, there's going to be a special session for people building rockets in, solid liquids. It's going to run 3 hours. We hope to have about 8 different groups represented talking about what they're doing. And these are people that actually have real hardware, not people that have paper design. We're talking people coming in there showing tests firing and things like that. So it's going to be 3 hours of people. And the reason I do it is to get people like that to trade their ideas back and forth.
Where does this take you?
It's in October the 4th and 5th
In
in Dayton, Ohio. And it's the Midwest Space Development Conference.
We'll be there.
Another issue I didn't want to talk about. A lot of people start talking about building things, and the first question that comes to mind is how are we going to fund it? And approaches in the past to this have been along the lines of, well, let's go out and find a sugar daddy somewhere, give us millions of bucks. And I don't think we need to do that. The amateur people haven't done that, the amateur radio people. And I don't think we need to do that. And the types of things we're talking about building can be funded out of our own treasury, which just basically comes from our own pockets, and from donated labor and donated, go to scrap heap in the machine shop and find what you need type of thing. So like the camera, that's probably one of the most expensive things, was $300 some bucks. But, well, heck, that's not really all that much. Most people drop that amount for a VCR. So it's more a matter where your priorities are. You want to spend that $300 on a VCR, and you want to spend it on a camera and fly on a rocket. And actually, our treasury has enough money in it to cover that right now. We have about $1,000 in our treasury at the moment. So we can afford to buy some items that we need, and others. The hope is we can get our members to either donate the equipment or some money for a special thing. Right now, I've been calling for donations, especially for a booth in Oshkosh. The external aircraft people have their big hoo-ha, so that we can display some of our wares, and hopefully we'll have some hardware to display by then. This is in late July, and garner some new members. But to get a booth there is like $600 some. So I keep putting messages out to our members. Please, everybody donating $20, and we have it. So I think we can fund most of what we want to do initially anyway out of our own pockets. We're not talking about millions of dollars and stuff, which is another advantage, because then we don't have to sit around and wait for somebody to decide to be a cool group and give us lots of money.
Have you talked to the EAA about the possibility of their donating a booth? After all, we're a fellow Experimental Aerospace Society.
But everybody there is probably a fellow experimental.
Well, but you know, there are a lot of dealers there too, and that's why they sell the booths.
I think the guy, our member in charge of that, Roland Reimers, he's talked to them quite a bit. He's also a member of the EAA, and we may be able to share. If we can't pay the $600, we can probably share a booth with someone else. So, for example, I think there was a Mac booth there, which is kind of our antithesis, but you know, we might be able to have some table space with them. We don't want to shell out money for our own booth. So there are some possibilities there.
You know, the AMSAT people sell subscriptions, and that's people who are going to be using the equipment. They take the regular subscription payment to help pay for it. And the repeater, radio repeater people do that. If you're going to use the equipment, you should join the club that's operating it and help them finance it. Is there anything we could offer, like selling copies of videotape that you make, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good suggestion that we at least sell. We make videotapes on some of our marketplace. We sell those, and other more mundane things, typical T-shirts and stuff like that. That's the standard junk.
There's one thing I tried to get Chuck Munn to do, and he doesn't want to do it, is send a video from the flight to that. What was some of the TV shows? They'll pay you.
Home videos.
I mean, you know, the worst they can do is get a laugh at it. So, you know, maybe you'll win.
Yeah, send them to American Home Video. I think that's a.
Do you have an idea of what kind of budget you need? Do you have an idea what kind of dollars you're shooting for all this? You say here that you know a lot of components you don't have nailed down yet.
Well, at the moment it looks like we're going to have to buy the camera. The camera is cheap, it's small, but it comes from a relatively small company, so they're not going to donate it because they're one of these small companies that's trying to get started themselves. And that was like $316.
Here's $100. Mail me your receipt.
Oh, okay. Now here we have a dedicated member.
I was so depressed hearing about NASA's budget being cut and all this stuff, and everybody's screaming we have to reinstate it. And it's like, so
Let's spend our money on something like
yeah, I'd rather go this route.
Okay, good. So there's $100 towards the camera.
It's driven by depression.
Great. Yeah, when I started working on the lunar prospector, it was like 2.5 years ago now. I think I spent about $15,000 on my own money on various things, you know, like mailing phone calls, organizing a workshop, et cetera, et cetera. So
What's the status of that project now?
It's all designed. Mine is all done by Omni Systems in California. They built a mock-up, which you may have seen pictures of.
Space News.
Space News, yeah. And the guys in Houston formed a small company called Lunar Exploration Inc., LEI. And they are working with Space Studies Institute. They're negotiating right now for $4 or $5 million from, I don't know, several sponsors. Okay? But the negotiations have been going on for a while. Everybody's been hearing rumors about it. Space News published a story that we already had the funding in the bag and all this. But actually, the negotiations are still going on. The reason that it's taking so long is that anybody who works for a company knows that if you start talking about donating even $1 million, even a big company like IBM, it takes forever to get, first of all, convince the appropriate people that they should do it, and then to get them to actually, commit. Okay, we think this is a lot of them will say, yeah, this is a great idea, but then it'll take them 6 months, talk to the board of directors, talk to the stockholders, all this stuff, to finally decide, make the decision, yes, we're going to do it. It's a lot easier for companies to donate equipment than it is for them to actually donate cash. So there's been a lot of stalling and pussyfooting around and stuff, and now now Space Studies Institute basically said, or actually through their agent, the Space Studies Institute's hired a, I guess you call it a fundraising organization to talk how sponsors in the appropriate manner. So the fundraising organization is basically said, look guys, cough it up and tell us forget it, because we want to build this lunar probe in the next, hopefully get started in 91, so we can have some hope of launching it in 92, which is the International Space Year. So anyway, the polite request has been laid down to these potential sponsors to,
How firm is the thing with the Soviets about the launch?
that's fairly firm. I mean, there's a signed agreement with the Soviets to launch it. The only real uncertainty with that is the Soviet Union is in such a state of political flux.
Yeah.
It makes me a little nervous, I'll fall apart at the wrong moment or something for us. But at least as far as between the Space Studies Institute and NPO and NPIA, they've already agreed to do it. And they've picked out a launcher. It's not the Proton, it's the Soyuz launcher to do it. So that's fairly firm, and it looks like the way that this is, by the way, this is possible another project for ESS. It looks like the way they're going to go about building it is rather than hire a small satellite company to do it, is to hire various outfits to do various parts. So they can talk to the AMSAT to do transmitter and the computer. And Preston Carter down at LEI mentioned the possibility of maybe ESS building some part or other. Now, we don't know yet, gotta wait till, he's basically waiting till the funding is in or not to start going out and soliciting help from people. But there's a possibility that our group could build part of it to go. They've got, the instruments are pretty well taken care of. They've got a university and a company basically building their instruments already. So, and those are going to be, well, partially donated, not completely. The scientists do need some funds, but some of the stuff they can donate. I believe the company is probably going to end up donating the hardware, a lot of the hardware for a couple of the instruments.
This is a dumb question, Gabe, but I forget whether does the design include the actual photographs of the actual video from it, or is it just purely?
No, the three instruments are a gamma ray spectrometer, which is the main instrument to look for water poles, and then there's an alpha particle spectrometer, which is a silicon crystal type detector to detect alpha particles from maybe radon emission. There's a thought. There's been some evidence from past Apollo flights that there's radon bubbling up from somewhere in the room, and that's indications of maybe interesting things. There's a lot of speculation on what interesting things. Volcanoes has been mentioned, old volcanoes. Trapped gases might include other useful gases besides radon. Might need on the moon. And then the other instrument is magnetometer, which is a little tiny thing to measure the magnetic field of the moon, which is, I'm not sure what use that is. Prospecting, possibly. I got one of my students is working on, can we do any kind of prospecting by looking at the magnetic field of the moon? Can we determine there's a load of iron here somewhere? That's been played with a little bit on Earth, but we're having trouble finding any real hard data to correlate between the measurements and the actual, did they find another load?
The reason I mentioned video in any form, even if it's slow scan or something.
There's going to be no pictures, but
It'd be easier to market it if there were pictures from CNN.
Yeah, but as I pointed out in I think, I don't know, back in Houston, the gamma ray data can be made into false color pictures, kind of like how they did Halley's Comet flyby stuff. Giotto had a lot of nice false color pictures.
Be a great poster.
So we can take the gamma ray data and make it into a false color map of the moon where each color represents some element. Silicon, oxygen, hopefully hydrogen. So we can still make, and we can also do that with the magnetic field as well. The alpha particle could do it, but it may not be all that interesting. There's only a few spots where you get the readings. The other nice thing about it is it'll be a whole map on the moon. It won't just be one band like they did in Apollo. Since it'll be in a polar orbit, and you'll get a nice map of the whole moon, gamma ray.
How long will lunar prospectors stay in orbit?
About a year.
And then go.
Yeah. You can keep it up there as long as you want to pay for people to keep it there. But a year is kind of the optimal time for that. You can get enough data to tell if you got any water at the poles in a year, because it goes over the poles every orbit. So you can collect enough information. I also found out that the newer, there's some newer neutron spectrometers. You're probably going to include one of those instead of the old one. You have the gamma ray spectrometer, the same thing, the sodium iodide crystal. But there's some newer neutron spectrometers which we can put on, which will enhance the detectability of hydrogen by, I don't know, a factor of 5 or something. So you get a lot better than we thought. You get a lot better sensitivity to hydrogen.
Kind of neutron detector should they be using?
I don't know what they are, actually. There's a lot of different ones around, and I haven't kept track of the state of the art on those.
Like, a lot of helium 3 detectors.
So that's another possible interesting project in the future for us.
Is your fundraiser person investigating selling advertising space on that?
That's a good point. We need a fundraising chair. At this moment, we do not have a fundraising chair person. We need someone to lead the fundraising for ESS.
But don't you have this corporate person?
Oh, for Lunar Prospector, that's something.
Oh, for ESS, that's
Lunar Prospector, there's fundraising going on. And I don't know what they're talking about for that, for the selling, putting people's names on it, on what.
As I said on the phone, I'll assist the person who is the fundraising chair, but I won't be the fundraising chair.
Yeah, the duties for ESS, what we need is somebody to keep track of, look into if we can get donations of hardware for things, look into the usual selling of EWAs and doodads at various events, and helping solicit members and things like that. So that's what I call a non-technical job, but it needs to be done. We need to have somebody in charge of it, willing to keep pushing. I know the Lunar Prospector, the guys in Houston did a good job getting things started by selling, for instance, they made these t-shirts that Jeff has on here in the Lunar Prospector. And they were fairly diligent. They went around and sold t-shirts and buttons and patches, and they actually managed to collect enough money to buy one of the detectors for the alpha particle spectrometer. So every little bit helps. And for ESS, we're talking about an order of magnitude less money than we need, so it shouldn't be difficult for us to. If we can get a few $1,000 in our treasury, we'll be in good shape. The projects we're talking about doing.
Is there any way that ESS could affiliate with universities in any way to maybe get some of this little hardware, like altimeters and things?
Yeah.
Off the university shelves? Or?
Yeah, in fact, the student working on the air sampler is working with the Broome Community College to get especially machinists to make things, machine shop for free, something like that. So yes, there's various sort of semi-chapters or cells forming up of ESS members in various places, and they're talking to students and universities to try to get them involved for free, especially free labor, and if they have access to a machine shop or whatever, can a lot of times get little things for free, nuts and bolts and scraps from the scrap heap to build aluminum holdings, and maybe even cameras. I don't know. I'm sure they wouldn't mind donating or letting you borrow a camera, but if you're going to launch it on a rocket, the chances it's going to survive so good, so they might not be all that enthusiastic about letting you borrow it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if I had a $500 video camera, and if it came back in pieces, I could still hang in the bag on the wall and say, this one, this is space.
Yeah.
You sell the pieces, yeah. Momentum.
I have a video camera that I got a video camera and a VCR for a couple $100 used, but the problem with it is video camera is big things.
Yeah. For the weight savings it's spent in.
It's too big.
You
The
know.
battery's actually really small. It's something the battery's really light.
What camera are we using? You know? It just says camera. I don't know. Does it say any more about it?
I guess he didn't have a mod. He didn't
It's not mentioned that it's a circuit.
I'm sorry, what the camera is?
What it is a security camera.
Oh, it's a security camera.
The people, you see these cameras in the corners, we can use
So it's just black and white then?
That I'm not sure. It's black and white.
That wouldn't be so much fun.
They have both kinds. They have both colors, black and white.
Have you looked into trying getting a camera store to maybe donate one, or a Radio Shack or something?
That's possible.
I would think the manufacturer would be the most likely place to go to.
Go to Sony.
Especially if it survives the crash.
Yeah.
What grade that is.
If you approach somebody like Sony or Panasonic direct, house videos or something, and that would be the ideal
Once you're
place to get up for a donation and prove the ruggedness of his camera.
Yeah.
Through
Well,
your
apparently these security cameras are in that category.
Yeah.
And the company that Andy's talked to is Mitchell Industries, which apparently is a small company that can't afford to donate anything. But yeah, I'll bug him to, I'll ask him if there's other places, if he's checked around other places.
I've seen ads for some that are just about palm size. There's just a lens mount on the thing, otherwise just a little square affair.
There's one problem. I know the guys that have done this before in California, they found out that when you launch a video camera, unless the heads are properly, well, he said that they tried it the first time, and the thing was, right after it started to move off of the path, suddenly it went scrambled because the heads moved because of the acceleration. So they get pretty high acceleration off these solid rockets, and didn't see anything else until it was again parachute open and was coming down. So that what they did was they substituted in a transmitter, which worked a lot better.
Yeah, instead of carrying the video.
Or you can just figure out some way to reinforce the heads so they won't move.
That is a good idea that is a good argument for the transmitter one.
And the transmitter worked.
It seems like the transmitter would be lighter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You don't use the take transport part of the camera at all. Use just the lens, the CCDs, and use that to be a transmitter.
Well, anyone who would like to work on the cameras, I will put you in touch with Andy. I'm sure he can do some help and suggestions.
Okay.
Not comes the time when you have to put your name down and do work. Everybody makes a rush for the door.
Okay, I'm gonna send Matt's a parachute guy, isn't he? Or Dean?
Matt is mainly.
Okay, I'm gonna send Matt a copy of the Air Force parachute manual.
Okay.
Should help him quite a bit.
I think Dean mentioned he had that one already.
Did he?
I think he said.
Maybe I gave it to him.
But Matt, I don't think will.
Okay, I'll call Dean up and see if he's got it. Is Dean on copy server yet?
He's going to be on Genie.
Oh, he's
He just
on
signed
Genie?
up. He just signed up.
I think Ud's gonna get on Genie because I'm on copy server.
Okay, Genie's cheaper than Congress.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing is we're trying to promote an electronic communication within ESS because our membership is fairly spread out over the country and even some people across the ocean. So if you have a computer and a modem, one of the cheapest things to sign up to is Genie, which is the GE Information Net. And that's $5 a month for unlimited usage of most of their services after 6 p.m. in the evening, and then all day on the weekends. So it's a flat rate. There's no dial-up charge. There's no per hour rate. As long as you log on after 6 on the weekdays or anytime during the weekend, and use only the STAR services. The STAR services include the ESS bulletin board on spaceport, electronic mail, and a whole scads of other things like shopping and stuff, which is more run-of-the-mill stuff. But essentially you can do everything you need to do as far as communication for the $5 a month. And it's very handy because, for example, I can post meeting minutes immediately to Genie. I also post them to internet. If you're on internet or BitNet, one of the span, those kinds of nets. CompuServe is another one. That's more expensive. I know quite a few technical people are on CompuServe. So I also try to post the information on Minnesota Space Bulletin Board and Pittsburgh NSS Bulletin Board. So anyway, it just makes things a lot faster and it saves us on mailing costs. I'd rather spend ESS money on hardware rather than stamps. So what I do is anybody who's on an electronic network that I can send to, I'll send them all the stuff, all the information electronically, and anyone who is not on one of those, then I send it by regular mail. And right now now about 30% of our members are on electronic nets of some kind, so they never get paper mail, or rarely get paper mail. I will send out paper mail to everybody when there's some diagram I can't send over the net. And I know a lot of people have gotten kind of confused. Normally when you join an organization, the first thing you get is an official newsletter. Well, we really don't have an official newsletter per se. We do have an invitation for Satellite Operator, which is a magazine, to have a column in there whenever we want to pass on information to the rest of the satellite community about what we're doing. And that's like $30 a year to subscribe to that. That's an excellent publication to find out what the rest of the satellite community is doing. It's the amateur satellite community. And that includes not only AMSAT, but also SEDS and some of the other ones. So, but apart from that, what I tend to send out are what I call working documents, which are just for information. They're not meant to be pretty or flashy. They're just for information. And like I say, I'll send out anybody that has an electronic address will only get the electronic version unless they need to send some diagram. Sometimes you'll get both. And I know some people got confused because I send out the minutes, which I typed in on my computer, and then later I sent out paper copy of the minutes along with a diagram. And I did that just for redundancy. I know some people don't read their computer mail or get to read it, or I do that too. I belong to so many computer nets, I sometimes forget to read one for 2 or 3 days. So now and then every member will get a paper copy of things to make sure everybody's up to date. Do we have anybody that would like to get in on one of our working groups, either the launch group, the camera group, the recovery group, or, well, we got an altimeter group of sorts. You don't really need a lot of people to be an altimeter. What was the other one?
Communications.
Well, communications, yes. That's, communications, at this point, our communications group, some of them are doing inter-group communications, in other words, keeping everybody informed of electronic net stuff. And the other part, which at the moment is Andy Reynolds, is doing the transmitter type stuff. So you could probably use some help on that, because Andy is basically leading the way on the camera and the transmitter. You might be able to use some help. Help consists of anywhere from machining things in your shop to just calling up vendors and finding out how much things cost and where you can get them. So it can be as technical or as non-technical as you feel comfortable with what you want to do. And that really goes for everything. There's a lot of those kind of gopher type jobs where you kind of call up a bunch of vendors and several people mention, well, try this camera and that camera. It'd be nice to have a list of all the different options and who makes them and how much they cost and stuff like that.
No, I'm good at doing that, pursuing
Okay.
parts and things on that.
One neat thing would be to have a database on one of those nets where you have a list of things you need, so that people could be looking for them in junkyards and
Oh, okay.
I,
companies.
I think there's really going to be very little that you're going to find that happens to be at hand, used or given away. You're just going to have to. You're going to say, okay, right at this moment, I need such and such a part, and then you'll have to go out and get it, or you'll have to go out and make it. And you're not going to find that part just sitting around anywhere. I mean, if one major piece of equipment, like a camera that the entire satellite will be built around, that you might be able to go out and request to be donated. But otherwise, I don't think that any significant piece of this is going to be.
Special batteries, bulk materials for fabricating stuff.
So there's a lot of things that, one of the things one of the amateur radio guys said to me was that, when he was leading Ron Leesburg said that at these get-togethers the amateur radio people have, they're always selling stuff at these things, used. And so, you might be able to pick up a transmitter for dirt cheap, for a few dollars literally, at one of these things. I don't know about cameras. I don't know if those are common items or not.
The thing is that they've got lots and lots and lots of stuff for sale there. none of it is exactly what you want.
Well, that's always true. You always have to make that decision. Do you want to settle for something that's not quite what you want? Do you want to modify it, or do you want to go out and spend a little bit bigger bucks to get it? And that I guess you got to go on an individual part by part basis. What you're willing to settle for. You might be willing to settle for a size screw than you thought you originally wanted, for example. That would be easy to settle for.
Well,
That
screws
was
you
free,
can,
right?
screws you can buy in a hardware store.
Yeah.
Uh,
You might be willing to settle for a transmitter on some particular band that
it's more like
than what you wanted.
you're going to have to settle for a transmitter that you're going to have to spend 50 or 100 hours rewiring.
Okay, I would be most concerned about the reliability of the component more than, saving $20 or
Yeah.
something like that. And I would be concerned about totally rebuilding something or buying something used in the sense of is it as reliable as a ruggedized piece of something you bought off the shelf.
Yeah.
And too, it's a matter of, as you say, the reliability, and it's a matter of design and then, doing the engineering. Apparently the AMSAT folks, when they design an amateur satellite, they'll actually do the whole design right down to the piece part level. And once they come on the design, that's in concrete. They don't say, well, here's a transmitter that I got at the swap shop, and we'll put that in instead of building it up, at the board level. They'll build it specifically designed for the satellite, and that way they're assured of better reliability.
They did tell me though that they had better luck with parts that they made or bought as industrial hardware than with mil-spec parts. They're
Really?
supposed to be super duper reliable, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
Yeah.
the darn things are, the mil-spec parts, I'm in the military. The mil-spec parts are taken off the same production line. The only difference is that they're tested more.
Qual
Yeah.
test.
Yeah, that they qual test them out.
There's actually a story about that. The guys who build those ring laser gyros in Minnesota, that's Honeywell or who it is, but the only difference between the commercial, ones that go in the commercial aircraft, ones that go in the airlines, ones that go in the military, is they've got this qual bench, and they connect it up, and they press a button, and it says 1, 2, or 3, or throw it or rework. And I think apparently there's none of them turn out; they're all just reworked. So it's not the question. But, you get the same parts.
So, well, I guess maybe they just had a run of bad luck. John Champion was telling us that they had better luck with just industrial parts than mil-spec.
So if we for the price of one military one, we could buy, 10 cheap ones, test them all, pick the best one, and have a military quality.
Right.
Or, and then sell back the other 9.
Used.
At least for the kind of payloads we're talking about so far, there's not that many parts that we have to buy. And like, if we have to buy a camera, well, okay, we already have enough money to buy that camera that Andy was talking about. And also the other thing, what's the other thing we have to buy on his list here?
And buy
The ATV transmitter for television picture. So those are the two probably most expensive items we got to buy for this particular payload. We already got the money for that. Even if we wanted to go for more expensive, like a video camera, we could do that too. A camcorder type.
You should question, speaking of all the reliability and quality questions we got into, you guys intend to put this thing in like some sort of a centrifuge, build a little centrifuge and test this G, just going to take the G's.
How many G's are we talking?
You're talking numerous G's. I've seen their videos take all the rock. Heck, you're talking 8, 10 G's.
Let's put it this way, they're going to go to 25 miles in 84 seconds. Okay, doctor. that.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to pull a lot of G's, and you really ought to have a system. I mean, if you just have to set up a piece of wood with spinning it up off with an electric motor, you really ought to know those G levels. That's critical, because that's when we test all our engines. We go through a real long qual test. Like a qual, it's like I hate to say this, it sounds like stuff you spend a lot of time getting for just a little bit of pleasure. Same thing with qual tests. You go through all kinds of testing just to fire to make sure it fires when it's right. We test our igniters 10 times to make sure that they work.
You might want to test vibration and possibly the thermal back characteristics too.
Yeah.
And you might be able to get one of the aerospace companies to donate thermal back chamber time.
Yeah, well, actually, Southwest Research Institute has a thermal vacuum chamber that they don't use very much. And they told me once when I visited them last year, hey, you know, if you want to test something in there, well, it's not being used.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it'd be great. You might ask one of the companies to test if we use their accelerometers or their
Yeah,
centrifuges.
I can take it, probably have IBM, and my husband works at IBM.
What's the size of
Sneak it in
that?
the vibration band. Size of,
In Southwest Research, the size.
oh boy, it's pretty good size. It's, let's see, it's probably 8 feet long by 3 or 4 feet diameter. Pretty size.
Big enough, you could go rocket in that thing.
Yeah, I figured, I was looking at it, testing the lunar probe, so, you know, it was big enough to test the lunar probe in it, which is a significantly larger thing we're talking about.
Do you know how the 84-second figure was arrived at? Is that to apogee?
Yes, to apogee.
You know, you recall the list of questions I had in my last letter about the suborbital launch?
Yes. Some of those questions I have put to George Morgan, and I haven't gotten an answer back on all of them yet. But maybe we can talk a bit and see what questions we've gotten answers. And some of them we've got answers to, and some not. But every time people send me questions, I forward them to George, and he's made a vow to make sure we get answers if we have answers for purpose of tailored time.
You mentioned the altimeter already here. Was there any discussion about that before I got here? As I said, I am pretty sure that a barometric altimeter will not work above something like
Right.
roughly 80,000 feet, and that would be a very specially made one. Probably 30,000 feet would be normal what you should get to.
Yeah.
Is-
I brought that up with Matt Travis, who's working on the altimeter. We probably ought to make sure we reiterate that too. There's three guys. Neil Haldar, you know him? Neil Haldar? He's at Ohio
You
State.
gave his name over the phone, but I don't know.
Okay. And Matt and Joe Bejo were looking into what kind of altimeters to get. There's also one of the Pacific Rocket guys himself, I guess, is looking into that as well. One of our main problems in all these projects is we've got to keep in communication. It's really difficult. You know, the amount of time that goes by between when someone calls me up on the phone can be 2 weeks.
What about altitude determination from the ground? In other words, instead of flying an altimeter, you know, use a radar set
Oh.
rather than a transponder.
I will do that. There was another option for altimeter. Did you mention it? What's the other option?
Laser?
Laser? Sounds like an option.
Don't have any telemetry coming in the craft? If you had some accelerometers on board, telemeter the data on acceleration, and then you rated that, you'd have it in
Or with the other?
real time.
Now, one of the things I've been really interested in is putting an accelerometer on it. But I don't know anything about where you get them or what ones will work for rockets or how simple you can make them.
And they come in different ranges. We have ones that we use for some shock testing. We part its own little preamp. I guess it's underneath a small output device. Well, you really need 3
Yeah. Yeah, I know what all goes into it. I use one of the vibration tables. They're real tiny things. But they usually go to some kind of a readout box, and you know, obviously you're going to do it on remotely. You're going to have to encode the readout and.
So this one has a threaded stud and an X base on it, and screw it onto the part.
I'd love to have someone would like to look into accelerometer. That'd be great. I'd like to know what's happening.
Have you folks tried to recruit with a direct kind of rifle shot approach some of the old-time rocket people, like those that are retiring from NASA, and folks that have a wealth of experience with a lot of this stuff? Have you done that?
Not really.
I'm down
It'd be nice to
about a
know.
mile from Johnson Space Center. I run into these guys all the time. They're totally bored, and they're tired of the bureaucracy. They fiddle around in their shops,
Ah,
and they know a lot of stuff.
can you recruit someone for us?
I can give you some names,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
even some of the guys that are still working, like Chet Vaughn and people like that. They're susceptible to an approach.
Okay, good.
And even a phone call, you can call these people and ask about an accelerometer, and they probably know as much as anybody on the planet.
Okay, yeah, this is if I give it.
And they probably have a bunch of things they tested sitting in their shops that they might just give you out of the back door. Do that. Very useful.
See, someone, Dean Oberg also knows some elder rocket scientists out in New York that he's been working with. And they have been kind of hanging back, not sure whether they want to get involved because of liability, because they're retired and they're not sure they want to have their names associated with an organization that's going to launch a rocket and drop it on somebody.
But save their names. You can just have a real informal kind of thing.
Yeah. But he says now they're starting to get interested now they're talking about actually.
What about that aspect, just to touch on that, is there a problem with that? I know it used to be rather simple, you just talk to the FAA, it's basically okay.
Still the same thing, yeah. You gotta get an FAA waiver to launch higher than a certain height, I don't know what it is, but we're in that range. So you get a waiver, you should, there's only a few sites out west, where people typically launch from, probably because they're remote and the likelihood of things falling on anybody is small. And at least so far, the amateur guys I've talked to, the Pacific guys aren't worried about insurance. They say, no, we're not going to get insurance. Figure the likelihood of things falling on somebody so tiny that it wouldn't be worth getting insurance. Other people, Dean Oberg is a little worried about getting insurance for liability, but he was in New York where a lot more people
They're crazy.
So that is a worry. We do have some legals in the ESS that can help us out on give some advice on that.
I know since we've wrestled that problem too with the rockets and the early test firing. Well, what we sort of took and after discussing with council, some friends of mine who are in that sort of business,
You're seriously considering?
Well, so far we have the suborbital thing in August. Now that's serious. There's actual hardware being worked on. We're digging up parts already. And somebody actually already told me we have a tube to put it in. So we can get a tube. We do. $120 you said to get a tube?
Oh, yeah. Which surprised me. I thought it'd be much less than that. But,
And Bill Farmer
if you
also-
want it, I'll go out and get it.
Well, we got to talk to Bill Farmer because he may already have one in the shop.
Okay, I hope so.
I would think that you could, I just wanted to bend the mast on their boat. I'm sure it was scrapped if it was strong. It might be the same right thickness. I don't know.
I would really like to know what generated the specs for it. He told me, I think it was Dean Oberg told me that he thought that the specifications for the aluminum were just chosen because that was the cheapest available, not because of any.
I thought it was supposed to match the rest of the rocket body. I understood this.
does George and Steve have the rocket body in?
Yeah,
They start tanking for it?
yeah. They got some tanks already.
I'll come out and see them. Next time we get to California, I'll definitely go see them.
So that's our main going concern now as far as actually getting started on hardware building. And the kind of the next level of things is we need to get started on the balloon launch, pursue that idea. I think that's probably profitable. Dean is real hot on pursuing that idea. He's got some
I
ideas
missed
for.
that. Is that, someone's proposing we launch the rocket from a balloon?
Right. Assist, yeah.
How high?
Not the rocket, but a rocket.
A rocket. Oh, so
Rocket-
this is
rocket
not
in
the
the-
same project as the suborbital camera?
No.
Right.
No, this would be different. This would be the thing that needs to get started soon. And there's some people interested in getting started on it. Nice to have some more people that are willing to look into various parts of it. He already has some ideas for what rockets, what balloons, and all this kind of thing.
Is he exclusively pursuing a dedicated launcher, or is he looking to piggyback option too?
I think he's only looking at a dedicated one.
So you have any suggestions on what we do?
One idea I heard about was reading the new Ad Astra is the external tank. I guess there's two companies that are getting out hold of some of them, and they're talking about having space for small experiments, including ejection.
Right.
It's a ways down the road.
Now, another thing I heard, Andy Reynolds heard a rumor,
in the next
maybe
couple
somebody
years.
can help trace this rumor down. Andy Reynolds heard a rumor that Orbital Sciences was looking for a 10-kilogram payload for one of their And fairly soon, Pegasus launches to fill in a space that was empty. And they'd gone to NASA, and NASA said, no, we can't do it, it's not enough lead time. But
It was 20 years.
yeah, no, they need 15 years lead time. And he wasn't able to find out any more about it, but if somebody knows or could find out more about that, that sounds like a real interesting possibility to get us to orbital. Because, of course, what would be nice is we could take once we fly our suborbital thing, find out what all problems we're going to have getting the camera to survive and all that. Then the next neat thing to do would be to go to an orbital one with just a small payload, same kind of, very similar kind of payload. And if we could build the thing, fly it suborbital, work out some of the bugs, and then find out Orbital Sciences is looking for something just exactly that size. Here we are.
I'm a real
I mean,
hitchhiker.
that might be, that might work out.
We should have off-the-shelf experiments ready that when an opportunity presents itself, we can say, hey, can you
Right on.
carry this on your briefcase, please?
So it's kind of a two-pronged approach. Let's on the one hand work on developing our own launch capabilities, and on the other hand keep an eye on those possible piggybacks, because that can get us up there quicker probably.
Okay, are you saying do you know any kind of date for this orbital sciences launch? That it just
No, I
there's
don't.
It happens
a
this year,
launch.
because they're supposed to launch another one this summer sometime. They got on contract.
Andy's around because room number's up there on the bulletin board. If
He's
you want
sick,
to
he's
see
gone.
him. But he's sick. Not today, so maybe later in the day. If you want to go talk to him and hit him up. Must be a bug alarm because my hubby said he didn't feel too good this morning. Or maybe it's some food then.
That Thai place, I'm telling you what.
Get the heartbeat. Okay. So there's several things. There's the one thing that's definitely going on now, and then there's several things that are in the startup mode, and we need more work going on to pursue.
Yeah, are you going to contact me about what kind of things I should be tracking down in terms
Yeah.
of?
I do like the idea of the parts list, at least from the standpoint, so that everybody that reads the bulletin boards, and I'll send it out in the paper mail too, knows what's going on. So far, I had a requirements document started, and then we got into the suborbital thing, so that's all different now. So what I'm going to have to do is put together a new document which will cover the suborbital payload, what it looks like. We got some preliminary information now on what's going to be in it and what the dimensions are and all that sort of thing. I'll put that all together in some kind of document to post on the bulletin boards and send out to people in the mail. And what I'd like to do is keep updating that document and reposting it on the bulletin board and resending that out so that everybody knows what's going on. And if anybody does see a real, a part that we need somewhere that's appropriate, we can glom onto it. And it may be a rare occurrence, but if you don't have the list, then you'll jump the opportunities.
But if the exact part is going to be changing depending on what we can grab, is there somebody doing integration of the whole package?
Yeah, I think I agree with this gentleman back here, though, that at some point we're going to have to freeze our design, and we won't be able to settle for anything. But it may be more a matter of we have a parts list and people going out to various places, keeping their eyes peeled and their ears open, and maybe they'll find the exact part we need.
One thing you could do is have a list of parts that you have found and what you paid for or expect to pay for them. Let other people look for a better bargain.
Sure.
Yes. That's especially true for the camera, because there's a lot of options on cameras, a lot of options. And I don't think we're going to have to get one used. They're not that expensive. You can buy a new one, whatever we have to decide on we need. But we need decisions.
Are you guys going to critical design or some final design review is a freezing? I don't know. A lot of government and airports and NASA, there's a final place where you say this is what it is, and everybody comes together and say, like on the telephone, everybody has a picture and say this is what it is. After this point, this is the baseline, or we'll call it. We're not changing it.
Yeah, we got to do that.
Yeah, you ought to schedule that date so the design can finalize.
That's a good
It's
idea.
going to be a drop dead date.
Let's see.
If you don't have that, it'll be floating up until the day you make it.
I had proposed a drop dead date of Oshkosh, which was actually probably too late now because we're going to launch in August. Oshkosh is until late July.
How long does it take to build it? About a month.
Yeah, it's not gonna take very long, once it's frozen. So probably need to freeze it, let's see, it's in May already.
Probably in June.
In June.
Do you actually want to show it at Oshkosh? You know what I mean, like a month
Yeah,
after?
yeah, we have
Or at
we
least
have
the-
started, where we have started. It'd be nice to show it, show hardware, people like to see hardware.
We'll send your rocket and you should.
Yeah. Somebody else was gonna send me an aerospike engine to show, that's California.
An aerospike engine?
Was
A
that-
real?
Who has an aerospike?
Who has an
engine?
aerospike engine? I wasn't.
It was,
Home
Bill
brew?
Farber, it was Bill Farber, Derek Lassen, one of those two guys.
They built their own
They
aerospike?
claimed they were building one.
Why is that aerospike harder to build than a virtual nozzle?
Well, it's not necessarily harder. What you gotta do is, aerospike's got that core inside, right? Well, that core erodes away. So, and then, you know, the fueling's a little trickier too.
Maybe this was
Well, yeah, you can do that, but it's also it doesn't have a great performance. It's a lot trickier to get the fueling to go, or the manifolding to get the fuels that burn.
a sheet around the outside.
Right. That's not easy to do. It's a lot easier to start have fuel go inside and have foam.
What kind of good questions when you talk about aerospikes and the differences between different nozzle technologies and all that? And all I have is a home BSNE that
I think
What
it's
is it that claims to have that vehicle? The aerospike?
It's one of our members of California. I don't remember, it's either Derek Lassen or Bill Farber. And, he was being over impressed about it, and he did come up with any drawings, so we don't know what he's really got. Yeah.
What level of finalizing are we talking about for this finalization of the design? I mean, because until the thing is launched, there are going to be changes up to the last second.
Well, that always happens.
What level are you talking?
I think what level we're talking about is we're gonna have a drawing of the way it's gonna be. And now, as you know, there's probably gonna be little tweaks and changes as far as mounting. And like we might test it in our centrifuge and decide, well, okay, we gotta add a mounting bracket here, or something like that.
Or if this isn't going to work at all, we have to turn it upside down.
Yeah, things like that, right? So yeah, it's the normal trials and tribulations of building something. You gotta expect it, but you do have to have a targeted final design, especially from the standpoint of what parts you're going to need. At some point, somebody's got to go out and buy a camera, and at some point, you have to buy the transmitter and things like that.
Has it actually been decided that we're definitely going to have a camera on the suborbital launch?
Well, there seems to be enough people interested in doing that. It seems to be the consensus of everybody to have that. If we have enough space, there's another thing going on in parallel to that, and that's my student who's building the air sampling device. And now that's going to be all built by him and his friends over at community college. Okay, so that won't cost us much of anything for it. We may have to buy a valve which costs $30 or
But
something.
you're not planning on incorporating it into the same flight, are you?
Well, that depends. If at this point it doesn't look like there's going to be enough space because the parachute takes up so much space. We're only going to have this much space for the payload, okay? And either the air sampler or the camera takes up that much space. So we're probably not going to be able to put both of them. But the idea is that if we have two things going on at once, if one of them falls flat, we got the other one. And we got about a month basically to get our act together and
The air
decide.
sampler would be fairly complex.
Would it?
You have to get the sample at the right time and to get the air in and seal it off again. It's not
You just need a little vacuum bottle with a vacuum in it and a little solenoid to open close the valve at the right time. And hook it up to the accelerometers and so you know
Yeah,
when the
but
peaks
getting
or
those
whatever.
valves
Or
right.
just say the timer.
Well, yeah, the way the air sampler is going to work is we were going to trigger it off the altimeter, but we're not going to do that now because, as I think it was you pointed out, Jeff, there's quite a bit of uncertainty as to how high it's actually going to go. You know, they do their calculations and they say it's going to go to 25 miles. Well, first of all, if your payload, it depends critically on your payload mass, how high you're actually going to get. Depends upon the aerodynamics of their vehicle, how high it's going to get, whether or not it fires properly and all this. So now we're thinking trigger, and this may go for the camera too, probably trigger off the timer, the electronic timer, which you start taking from it's when you launch.
If you're tracking it, you'll know at what time was it at what height,
Yeah.
tie that to your air sample data.
And so you're gonna have two modes of operating, two things telling you, or giving you some information about how high it is. You have the altimeter, and you have your timer, which you have some calculations that are telling you, and maybe even some tracking as well.
Do you have any people in the group working on a little microcomputer control system for these things?
For the camera, I don't think we're talking about any real control systems, just
I mean,
timers,
the
turn on, turn off.
whole package
Just a
of payload.
sequencer.
Yeah, there's activity going on in that. I'm trying to finalize up who's doing it. There's a guy at Pacific Rocket Society himself who's working on the timer, which implies, he's working on what it's going to be hooked to, mainly the parachute system for his interest. He wants to make sure we get the rocket back, okay? But integration is probably the biggest thing hanging out right now on this project. We need to make sure that everything gets integrated properly, and to do that, I'm trying to get somebody in California to sign up to doing that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in California, but we do need somebody to sign up to integration, making sure that when people build their part, like when Andy gets the ATV transmitter and the camera, who's gonna make sure it fits in the can. There is the machinist in California who says he can make the brackets and things and fit it in, but we need somebody who's really dedicated to integration, because that's going to be a real critical thing. And I could do that, but the problem is I'm going to be in France in August. so I'd like to get someone else who's willing to take that responsibility on for integration and make sure everything's going to work together and fits at the end. And sometime probably in the last 3 weeks. The launch date is August 19th. And so that means like the last 3 weeks before that, last week of July, first couple of weeks of August, we need some pretty intense activity. Probably testing, putting things together, testing it, making sure we don't need to make any modifications, finalizing the thing, and then going to Pacific Rocket Society guys with their vehicle and make sure it bolts on properly. And there is still some uncertainty about the interface between the rocket and the payload. They're still in the process of designing that part. They were designing the rocket from the tail up, so we got to design the payload from the nose down. And there's still room for negotiations. Dean brought up a good point that in order to keep us from being too dependent upon one launcher, we might want to work with Pacific guys to get them to have their whole system included up to a flange where we bolt on our payload. That we don't make our payload too involved part of their rocket. That way when we go to port it later for an orbital or whatever, it'll be easier.
I don't think that there's going to be any real connection between the suborbital payload and an orbital payload. I think they're going to be totally different. I don't think you're going to have any overlap at all. I mean, the general process will be the same. The experience gained will be important, but the hardware is going to be completely different.
There may be some things like, I hope we're going to learn a lot about parachutes, and we may be using something similar for an orbital mission if we're going to recover. And I hope we're going to learn something about how to hold our payload, with brackets and things so that it doesn't destroy itself on launch. And that's probably going to be, in my mind, that's the most likely place things are going to go kablooey. Is when you're launching, you're subject to all these G's and vibrations. You got to have a way to hold it in there good.
I bet you we're going to learn tons about integration because every experiment's going to be different. Every experiment's going to be a different off-the-shelf stuff and pull them together. And play a big part.
Another thing we do to keep everybody together is we have phone conferences now and then, phone meeting where what I do is I call up everybody on a conference call. And I can get, I've got like 16 people successfully on a conference call before. That works pretty good. It's almost as good as a face-to-face meeting, because it's a little bit better than a computer because you get a feel for what everybody's thinking and everybody can talk together. So we're going to have another one of those real soon to get our payload back together.
Do you want to try to set a date right now?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. What's next phone? Anybody else have something they wanted to specifically work on that put their name down for? I got something of those. Which one is that? Oh,
You said rocket engines.
Very working.
okay, so desperately in fundraising first. So much keep track of the money making projects for us. And member solicitation and things. That's on the non-technical end. On the technical end, we got we got a camera group. We have the launch group, the communications group, and the recovery. Recovery being parachutes and things like that. And well, I don't think we really need a group to machine parts. We need some resources, some machinists, or people that know, that have access to student shops and things.
Would a solid rocket, retro rockets to slow it down for impact be lighter in weight than parachute package? Or would just let it fall, 100 feet above the ground?
I'm not sure about that. I've been trying to get someone to do a trade-off study on it.
And the Soviets use that for their command?
The timing would be a little critical.
Yeah, time is
You're 1 second off.
Polish difference.
Do you ever do data searches and look for prior work
oh yeah.
through the NASA database and things like that?
Yeah. In fact, Matt Travis has looked up all the stuff on Discoverer, which was a recoverable vehicle built by the Air Force back in the 60s. He's got a whole pile of info on that.
Where does he access that?
I don't know where he got that from. I think you can get it from a regular library, but I don't get to look at it.
No.
I think the U of H, you can get a lot of stuff from the U of H.
I don't know if U of H has that service. I don't think you can through U of H.
Published papers, they've got.
No, I'm talking about the database where you can do a keyword search. Because there's just too much information. You have to do it through a computer.
It'd be wonderful if someone,
The University of DC Library has.
I can do it, but I have to pay $400 a year.
Not for this. Not for the NASA database.
No, that's not the ring.
I'm sure of that.
Can you access that for free? I can access it, but I have to pay $400 a year.
Through what? Access what?
The NASA data, the recon database.
I did hundreds of searches when I was in Southern California through USC. That was the NASA Industrial Applications Center.
See, that's the thing. It's on the site.
But that's the problem.
Okay, you can walk in and do it.
Yeah, I'm now at Johnson Space Center, which does not have a NASA. I'm not at Johnson, but it doesn't have a NASA Industrial Applications Center, which is strange enough. So you can't. A company or R&D person or something cannot do a search in Houston.
Right.
But you can. It's hard though. And you can go through and get one done through the JSC library. But you have to have all kinds of stuff to do that. I could do that because I've been able to all the right badges and everything.
I have free access to all the engineering databases, the regular ones.
Yeah.
But the NASA one, I got to pay $400 a year or something in order to dial. Then I can dial up from home. But even then, you got to work with somebody that knows how to run it because it's real cryptic.
Do you have the thesaurus? Because I usually spend 3 hours working a search strategy, but the thesaurus is this thing, just with the words that the computer knows.
Well, I'm pretty good at search strategy.
Yeah. So
I can
otherwise
usually
you're
track down what I
going
want.
to spend a lot of time.
The problem is with the NASA Recon database, most searches, most databases are manually driven and they're very simple to use. The ones I've used, the kind of industrial ones. But the NASA one is an archaic system, at least it was a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's very cryptic, and you've got to know exactly how to run, what the syntax is.
And how to narrow it down, because I did a search once and the first word I looked at was just composites, because I was trying to make a special material. And there were 80,000 abstracts in there, composites.
Yeah.
So I had to get the right 3 words to
Yeah.
narrow that down. It's really.
Well, that I don't have a problem with, as long as I know the syntax. But the Industrial Application Center guys, they were, at least when I worked with them before, they were very helpful. You know, they were willing to, what you can do is you can dial them up, and if you have 2 phone lines, you can search and talk to them at the same time, and they will guide you to the syntax mess. You did it.
You know, Chambertoff, though,
Yeah.
he works for Industrial Technology Institute in Michigan, right? Maybe they are a subscriber to that service or something. Maybe they can search this for you.
Yeah.
Why don't I ask them if we can do that for you?
Yeah, that's great.
So we're talking NASA technical searches,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's called the NASA Recon Database. At least that's
RSDP has access to the NASA
have
Recon data.
all kinds of stuff.
Well, one other approach is you can call the folks that coordinate that in Washington DC, get a list of people, if they'll send it to you. And then, there's subscribers that do pay that, that are corporations, and you call somebody up and say, hey, we can donate a search to a nice
Maybe, yeah.
nonprofit space group.
It may be that some of our members have access, so
Yeah.
I'll put that out in the news, next news, and who has access to it? Because maybe somebody already has it.
Okay, you're staying here at the hotel?
Hmm?
Are you staying here at the hotel?
No, I'm not. But I'll be around here through Monday. So I'll be floating around the conference
So
here.
leave a note for you in the bulletin board?
Yeah, you can leave a note for me on the bulletin board. If anybody wants to talk to me individually, feel free. I'll be floating around. Leave a note, we can make an appointment or whatever. You want to find me? I think it's in the program. Well, our time is officially up here, so we're probably going to have to vacate. Thank you for all for coming, and we hope to have some of you working with us.